Good afternoon. I'm Dan Swensen, Senior Practice Director of Learning and Development here at Lowry Associates, recently acquired by Resource Pro just over 7 months ago. So my first time at Summit. Any other first timers here at Summit? Okay then, all right. We'll rendezvous afterwards. We can talk about how awesome it's been. I'm super excited to be here, and joining me as my guest, Michelle Richards with CoAction Specialty, and the longtime partnership that Lowry Associates has had with CoAction. It's been about 7 years. So tell us a little bit about CoAction Specialty, the products and services that you offer, and your role with CoAction.
All right, thanks, Dan, again for the opportunity to be here to talk about all the successes that we've shared throughout all those years. CoAction is an innovative specialty property and casualty insurer with a wide range of insurance solutions for companies across the United States. So we were founded in 2009, based in Morristown, New Jersey, and licensed to write business in, licensed or eligible to write business in all 50 states, DC, and Puerto Rico. And we have in-depth product knowledge in several verticals that you see here on the screen. And Lowry Associates, or Lowry, has assisted us quite a bit with the entertainment vertical. I'm leading the premium audit department presently at CoAction. I've been there for 6 years.
So correct me if I'm wrong, when she came on at that time, the premium audit department was new, lean, and perhaps not enough staff to handle the audits that they needed to do. So you came to a point where you needed to consider, do we go with a vendor? So tell us a little bit about the process in the evolution of the premium audit department since you took it over, and the decision you made to find a vendor.
Certainly. So prior to the premium audit department being born, the premium audit function was being handled in the various underwriting departments. And as business grew, the need to consolidate that function to its own department and oversight was needed. And that gave us an opportunity to seek a vendor that was going to help us improve results and take on that workload.
So what specifically were you looking for in a vendor?
So specifically, we were looking for experience with workers' compensation and specifically California test audit accuracy, which is just super important. Quality is critical in that program. And we were looking at location, having the policyholders being based on the West Coast, Pacific time, having a vendor in that area with auditors helping communicate and schedule on that time zone was super important. And also just experienced auditors, good time service, great quality. Those were all things that we were looking for. As well as a vendor that was going to help us with some customization needs, some proprietary forms and classifications, and some challenges that can create.
So as you got the green light to find a vendor, how specifically did Lowry Associates check the boxes?
Well, certainly, I think we can tell by how long we've been working together that Lowry has checked all of those boxes. I mean, obviously location at that point in time, but the accuracy and the California experience had shown through the quality and the timeliness results that we were experiencing.
So I want to ask you a question on time service, and I realize this might sound like a dumb question, but they all say there are no
dumb questions.
Okay, so in regards to time service, what was so specific? What were you looking specifically for? I mean, we realize that when we have a product, we want to get it back to everybody as soon as possible. But with this unique book of business, why was time service such an important component?
Well, certainly we were looking to improve results with workers' compensation audits. So the timeliness of audits and timely submission of unit stats, specifically to California, is very important. And in fact, through that time period early on, partnering with Lowry had helped us eliminate fines completely for any late audits or any unit stat report. So that was very critical. Time service is also important. When we talk about reducing non-productive rate, that will ensure that we are completing audits and having a good, timely call schedule with the policyholders helps reduce non-productive rate. And yeah, I mean, we see here that non-productive rate when we started working had been over 30%, I think, and we were able to get non-productive rate down quite a bit to 9%. Over time, which is fantastic. And doing those things, this timeliness, improving non-productive rates, improves the policyholder experience as well, which is very, very important. In fact, you know, when we talk about 90% on-time delivery and non-productive audits and the challenge that that brings, Lowry had accommodated our request to sort of put aside the SLA requirement, although I'm talking about timeliness, is very important, but for the auditors to have the autonomy to recognize that I do have an insured willing to comply. They just need a little bit more time. So I'm not going to send in a non-pro audit to receive the records 2 days later. They had the ability to hold that, and we were understanding that we were going to achieve these greater results, which was going to be a lower non-productive rate and really overall great time service.
She mentioned earlier that one of the books of business that they write is the entertainment. And it's such a unique book of business. You would see these policyholders at the Grammys, at the Tonys, perhaps, what other, the Oscars. You might even see some of their clients or the policies that they write at a Super Bowl halftime show. And so because of that unique book of business, it required the two companies to work closely together to find a way that would work for you, the carrier, and the policyholder, and for us. So can you speak specifically as to some of the reasons why we had to customize and change some things to work for that type of book of business?
Certainly. So, yeah, Lowry from the beginning has been great at adapting and working with us on some needs, and they include things like, you know, even early on before we had automation, our audit orders were manual, which created a unique situation with companion policies and the workflow when we would receive them back internally. So Lowry was accommodating in working through those assignments specific to entertainment, things like our audit request letters and our audit forms were able to be customized so that the policyholder account representatives would have a good experience in providing the information that we were seeking. And let me think about what else we were able to customize in addition to forms and letters. I talked about the call schedule and the reduction of non-pros already.
And all of those things, recognizing that when you came on to take over this department was in 2019. So we customized some things, we made modifications to letters, to forms, all to accommodate you and the policyholders. How did that lead to growth as far as work volume assigned to Lowry?
Certainly. Well, we were seeing great results. We were seeing great teamwork and collaboration. Our communication has always been great. And so those areas that we were looking to improve those metrics and seeing those metrics improve allowed us to continue to grow with Lowry. And one of the things also, though, that we do very well when we talk about growth is we communicate in advance of any changes or increases in volume. So we make sure that we give you notice if we're going to make any changes, and that gives you an opportunity to ramp up or prepare your auditors in the assignment process that you'll have to take on when we increase that work.
For sure, and that's one thing that I do remember a time when we had to say, pump the brakes. We weren't quite staffed to be able to handle that work volume, and it was great for you to receive that with, oh, good, because most, in other cases, people say, send me all that you got. And so you can see from the screen here and from the earlier graph in 2019 to 2024, we nearly doubled the amount of work that they were sending us, and since our inception of this partnership, 30,000 plus completed audits.
That's great.
So As she mentioned the customization of forms and the process, I want to mention that it's not a one-way street. In other words, Michelle and CoAction was very customized their approach with us as well. And I remember a couple of years ago, her and her team had thrown out this idea of, what if we were to get all of your auditors together on a Zoom and talk through some mentoring and some training? So we did essentially that. We got all of the auditors on board. They got to see you, your team, ask questions, because as they're doing audits, there are all sorts of situations that come up. They were able to provide feedback. What do we do in this situation? And how do we handle this type of thing? All at the same time receiving mentoring and guidance from you. So it was a huge benefit for us and very collaborative approach. What type of impact did it have with you?
So the impact was huge. You know, you're giving us the ability to speak directly with the auditors, to have these training sessions, these question and answer sessions. You know, I'm a big proponent of knowledge sharing. If I know something about my policies, policy holders, information that's going to help the auditor do a better job for us, I want to make sure I share it, and they open that line of communication, which was fantastic. It helps us understand what the auditors are facing. I love to hear the questions of the auditors or their experiences, and then we can work together and figure out, how do we come up with a solution to make the process better and improve the experience for the policyholder or the account representative, and really just improve the work of the auditor and the quality, of course.
So one of the things that I have personally valued, and of course our company, Lowry Associates, working with you, is that open and honest communication, full transparency. And as she mentioned, there are times when we have to go to them and say, hey, we need to make there are some concerns or some things that we need to change. And the same way, you'll do it back with us. And it really is a very open dialogue and communication as we do that. Those typically happen during our monthly or routine touch-base calls with the carrier specialist. Now, she knows what a carrier specialist is, but for all of you at Lowry Associates, we designate a single point of contact / team of individuals to work specifically with the carriers that we service. And this carrier specialist is a quick response, direct point of contact, which we have found very successful. But what impact has it had with you and your team?
I feel like the carrier specialist is such an important role, and it can really make or break the relationship. We need a carrier specialist that understands what is important to us. As I've talked about, things that are important are timeliness, quality, non-productive rate being decreased, and the customer and our policyholders' experience. So having a carrier specialist with that on top of their mind as well, and able to be quick to respond to our requests, follow through on our requests to make sure that they're being completed as we had desired, or reaching out and asking questions and opening that line of communication is really important. They ensure resolution, they address any inventory issues. We pretty much reach out every day, here or there, which is really appreciative. It's not an overwhelming communication, I don't think, but it is something that just, again, makes us feel like your team is truly an extension of us and what we're looking to accomplish.
Yeah, I agree. That's the value, that's the component of a valued partnership. And so, of course, you know all the things that we've talked about. The audience here has got to see a little bit of the stats and statistics on the screen and hear about the customization, how valuable it has been. But, you know, wrapping it all up, what specifically would you say has led to the success of CoAction and this partnership in working with Lowry Associates?
Yeah, I mean, again, everything that we've talked about here, this collaboration has been so important. The sharing of solutions and ideas to make things right, the customization of our forms, of our processes, of our time schedules, and just being responsive to our requests, and just willingness to open the lines of communication, want to solve problems, keeping our interests in mind as far as the great metrics and improvement that we're trying to accomplish.
The partnership has been solid. I just want to acknowledge to all of you in front of Michelle, the near 8 years of working has been beneficial because of the two-way street. It goes both ways. transparency, open, honesty, being able to customize the partnership that Lowry has had with CoAction for so many years, we value. Thank you for joining me here on stage, and thank you to the audience.
Thank you.